point did you know something wasn't right? So I was like, right, okay, I'm broken. I felt like I'd let him down. I think that's in focus. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been a hot minute since I have done like a sit down video, and I've been really slack on sit down videos recently. If you're new here, I do love a good talking video, but I work full time and life has just been a bit crazy recently, so I've just been sticking with the vlogs every week. I weekly vlog every single week, and if you are into that kind of thing, then go and check it out. It's normally just me and my husband, like, just living our best lives, to be honest. So we're very open on this channel too, which is probably how you found this video, because maybe you are A, being nosy, or you're happy to talk about TMI things as well. As you can tell by the title, we're talking about something that is very personal today, and probably for some people, like, that maybe watch the vlogs, maybe this is too much for you. Don't worry, I'm very happy if you don't want to watch it. This video is hopefully going to be informative. Maybe if you have never heard of this topic, maybe we can just kind of help educate a little bit, and yeah, just kind of share my experience. I did want to preface the video, it is my experience. I am not a medical professional, I am not really clued up on this apart from what I've been through and what I've read online, and this is just my experience. I don't want anybody coming away from this video feeling scared or freaked out or taking this as like solid truth. As I said, just my experience, but I'm hoping that maybe this sheds a little bit of light on something that is so not heard or talked about, and yeah, can maybe help even just one person watching this video. When I first started looking for topics on this, there was like nothing I could find, and especially there was nothing about women that were currently going through it. It was all about women who had already gone through it and come out the other side, and I found that really disheartening, to not have anybody as a support system going through what I was currently going through. So hopefully this video is helpful and useful and maybe answers some questions. What we're talking about today is something called vaginismus, and it's a horrible word to say out loud. Maybe I'm used to it now, but I do know kind of people look at me a bit like, oh, we're talking about what? And yeah, I was diagnosed with this a year and a half ago, and yeah, I just kind of want to share my experience, the process I went through, and things that we are dealing with as a result. I shared a little bit of our story on my Instagram at the end of last year, and yeah, it was really embarrassing, hard, tricky, all of that good stuff, but I find it's really important because from posting that, a lot of people I know, a lot of kind of internet friends replied and were like, this has been so helpful, and that's why I'm sharing it today. I also put on my story the other day asking if anybody had any questions, just to kind of help me go through this in somewhat of an ordered way. So we're going to go through some questions and I'm going to kind of share the story as we go. So we're going to start off with the first question of what actually is vaginismus. And I'm sure I could probably find a really eloquent way of putting it, but essentially it's when your pelvic floor muscles are so tight, and it can be described as a brick wall, and it makes inserting anything, we're not just talking sex here, like it makes a lot of things really tricky, and yeah, that's basically what it is. It's basically just like the tightening of your pelvic floor muscles, and you have no control over it, and that's a really important bit. It's a lack of control over that. I'm gonna go with the question of what symptoms did I have. So before we were married, I really struggled with using tampons, and was just kind of like, oh, maybe when I'm married and we start having sex, like maybe it'd be easier. And I'd always had people say to me, like, the first time you have sex will be painful. Cool, wonderful, you know that that's what's gonna happen. And I had loads and loads of people saying, you know, it will get easier, it's just your body getting used to things. So for me, symptom wise, if we're talking actual symptoms, it was that whole, everything felt like a brick wall. Everything was painful down there. I got anxious with the thought of anything, like the thought of using a tampon made me anxious, let alone anything else. And just, yeah, just experienced real anxiety around it. Intercourse was painful, and in the end, just like everything felt painful even though it wasn't. And that's kind of the only way I can really describe symptoms. Another question was, at what point did you know something wasn't right? And this will kind of lead into diagnosis. But yeah, basically me and Noah got married at the end of August. We, yeah, like struggled, and we just kind of like, maybe it's just, you know, we're just not used to it. But I'd kind of gone into marriage thinking maybe there's something in this. Having never been able to use a tampon, I was like, you know, is that normal? And yeah, so we had people saying, you know, maybe you're just stressed, like it's wedding stress still. Go on your honeymoon and you will relax, you'll be absolutely fine. We went on our honeymoon a couple of weeks later, and oh my goodness, like the pressure on our honeymoon was ridiculous, because we both were like, right, everything should be fixed, this should be easy now, we're relaxed, like we're on our honeymoon, this is so romantic and chill. And we cried so many times on our honeymoon, because again, it was just that anxiety thing for me that kept coming back. So we're talking not just a physical pain, but like just that mental thing that you have going on as well. And I think it was from then that we were like, this, like something's not okay. And we basically just took it off the cards. We were like, we're not gonna put any pressure on anymore. And we basically gave ourselves a month to just, if nothing got better, we were gonna get some help. And I'm gonna come on to diagnosis now. So basically I was like, I'm not putting up with this, like this is not how God intended my life, and like this is crazy, like maybe there's something physical that we can just kind of like knock on the head. Yeah, like I was like, cool, like we can do something about this. And I started reading loads. I was just googling like, what does this mean? And nothing came up, like I'd never heard of anything. Just lots of sex the first time is painful, and for some women sex is painful and it will get better. And I was like, maybe it's just not for me. I rang my GP, and they got me to see I think I saw somebody from like a sexual health team. Noah came with me to my appointment, this was pre-COVID, and I had 2 people in there with me, and he basically just asked like loads of questions. They were making sure that no one had forced me to be there, and I had to do some like physical tests, and I was able to like do the test myself. I felt more comfortable with that. So yeah, I had to check that I had no infections and things like that, which, you know, I told them that I didn't, but they had to check, and obviously everything came back fine. And they referred me to a sexual health team at the hospital. So at the beginning of December, me and Noah, so this is December 2019, me and Noah went to the hospital and saw somebody who did a physical examination on me. I was so nervous about this. Like, we're now talking, me and Noah have been married for like 4 months. I've created this crazy anxiety around my body, around anybody seeing me. I just felt disgusting, and I had to go and like bear it all to somebody, and I had to be okay with that, because that was the only way I was going to get better. And as you would expect, they handled it with such you know, I felt dignified as much as you can do in that scenario. And yeah, she basically, think of it like a smear test if you've ever had one, or if you can picture what having a smear test is like. It's kind of like that, maybe a little bit more invasive, but in terms of like, you know, the physicality of it, it's kind of what happened. And Noah was in the room. He like, they put like a sheet so he couldn't like see the examination, but he was with me as like support. And she basically was like, I think you've got vaginismus. And she was like, I think it's secondary. I think we've got some pain and some anxiety that was causing it. But you need to have psychosexual therapy to work through the anxiety, and you need to do some physical stuff. So I was like, right, okay, I'm broken. I'm crazy, like something's going on in my head. Like, I left that appointment being like, okay, cool, I've got a name for it now. So I Googled it everywhere, and it was loads of people saying, you know, you can get through it, like there's light at the end of the tunnel, it's not forever. But life is hard with it, and it's not, like I said, it's not just about intercourse. There are so many aspects that this affects. I'm not infertile, but I can't have children right now. Like, that's a really big minefield to try and work through. I can't have internal examinations without anxiety and pain. You know, I can't have a period as I'd like to. I can't experience my husband in the way that I'd like to. You know, just in, like, there's an area of my body that doesn't work properly, and it freaked me out. And nobody I knew was talking about it. At this point, I think I told my mum and my sister, and I think some friends knew, but again, it's just a topic kind of people steer clear of. Nobody wants to talk about it, it's a bit awkward, and yeah, we both just felt super isolated and super lost. In January of 2020, we went and met with a psychosexual therapist, and she basically got me to fill out this form of like anxiety and depression and things like that, and how it was affecting me in my life, and yeah, it's quite a general form. And then we met with her and we basically talked through our problem. And I vividly remember, like, she got to the end of this and basically just said a lot of probably my anxiety around intercourse was a quite negative view of sex growing up, that it was like the worst thing I could have ever done. And that's nobody's fault, but just kind of how sex was taught to me in general, from a religious perspective. Now, I just want to preface, I 100% believe that sex is for marriage, and I still stand by that. As a youth pastor now, and having gone through what I've gone through, I definitely think that we can teach that in a better way. Sex is not the enemy, it is not bad, God made it. We don't teach young people the best way to save themselves for marriage. That's all I'm going to say on that topic. And yeah, she basically just said I've got some anxiety stuff to work through. So she gave me some stuff to go through, and she gave me this like sheet, and I was like, wonderful, like this is it now. I was also given some, they're called dilators. They are plastic. They are essentially like tampons, and then they get bigger, and it's with the idea that you expand your muscles and you work on it while you're relaxed. A lot of what I'm probably going to share now is probably TMI and probably a lot of information for people, but please be gentle, be kind, be gracious. This is me opening up to something that is very like a part of my life that not many people would share. So I'm doing this to help educate and to make people feel less alone, so please be respectful of that. We also met friends who had a similar thing, and we were just able to share stories with. So we're at a point now where I've got some anxiety stuff to work on, we've got some physical stuff, and we kind of are talking to people a bit more. We're being a bit more open and getting help from people. For me and Noah, we kind of were at a point now where intimacy was kind of off the cards. Like, I would get anxious if he kissed me, if he like just put his hand on my leg, like, or it made my skin crawl because I was like, this leads to this. That was not good for me, was not good for us, was not good for our marriage, and a lot of people only see this as well, you just can't have sex, like what's the big deal? It affected so much of our marriage. It affected my mental health, it affected Noah's, and I can only speak from my point of view in this because he's not here, but I felt like I'd let him down. I felt like I had failed as a wife, as a woman, not that he ever put the pressure on me, and ladies, please, like, marry a guy who you know loves you, every bit of you, because it makes a difference. But we found it so tough, and again, people knew, but it's not really something that you can bring up an awful lot because it's awkward and people don't like talking about it, and that's fine. But we just felt like we were the only people in the world and that we were so alone, and it absolutely crushed us. We ended up then living with my parents in the first lockdown, so can you imagine trying to work on that while you're living with parents? And when we got back to Plymouth, so I think this is end of May, we're talking about end of May 2020, we started therapy with our psychosexual therapist that we saw in January. So from our original GP appointment in October, November, diagnosis in December, January seeing a psychosexual therapist for the first time, and then starting therapy was end of May, June. It was a long process, and they basically tell you to avoid like anything in that time, because sometimes like trying to just push through makes things worse. So yeah, like for most of our first year of marriage, like we weren't massively intimate. Our therapist was amazing. We did every other week, I believe, because it gave us time to work on things. But she basically stripped it back to basics of, we had to relearn how to love each other physically without sex, without there being any of that. And it was really weird to start with, in terms of like, we were now being told like, just don't go, almost like don't touch each other, don't do anything, like don't kiss, don't hold hands, don't like do anything, and just relearn to appreciate each other. And it was a long process, and I found it incredibly like anxiety giving, but we carried on and we finished with her at the end of August, because we basically got to a point where there wasn't much more she could do for us. We then ended up living with Noah's parents for like 7-8 months. Yeah, I think maybe had we had our own space, maybe things would have moved on quicker. But having our own space now, I still know that things take time. Working through anxiety for me was massive. And if you're feeling like this is something that you're going through, like, do the work with the therapy, do the anxiety stuff, because my goodness, like, I have no, like, in my head, I have no anxiety, no fear around anything like that at all. My body still does, and it is something I'm still going through, very much so, but I have control over that up here. And me and Noah now are able to have a more intimate relationship because the anxiety is not there. Our marriage is so much better. Like, it's a million worlds better, and although we're not fixed, we're not 100%, we can look back and see how worth it was, and see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, because at the start of our journey, if I thought I could get to this point, I was like, it's not gonna happen, and it has. So I know for a fact that it can get better again. And yeah, that's kind of our diagnosis. It's kind of the process that we've been through. I want to make sure I'm trying to answer people's questions rather than just rambling, even though I've just sat and rambled. So how do you help it / cure it? Lots of different ways. a lot of people will have to go down the therapy route and then the dilators. Some people are cured with just the therapy, some people just the dilators, some people like me need both, but essentially don't push through it. Don't think that you can like handle this on your own. Go and get some help, and doctors and whoever will be the best people to put you on the right track for what you need. You're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you. Have your symptoms subsided since you were diagnosed/treated? I'm definitely working through it. Think of it like, because it's a muscle. If I am constantly working at it, I do get better. If I let it slide and forget to do it, or just decide it's not worth it that day, I then have to go back to square one. So my symptoms have subsided, but they do creep up. Sometimes anxiety-wise, completely gone. Advice for other girls who may have it: go and see your GP. I know it's so nerve-wracking, but I don't want anybody watching this video who experiences pain thinking that they have it and that they're going to struggle in the same way I did. But at the same time, if you do have it, you can get help and you can get through it. You don't have to, like, sex doesn't have to be painful, tampons don't have to be painful, like, you don't have to hate your body. So please go and get some help. But also know that, like, it's curable. It was another thing somebody asked me, was like, can it be cured? Yeah, for sure, you just actually have to put the work in. How does it impact upon your health, both physically and mentally? Health-wise, like, apart from intercourse and things like that, not massively. Like, I'm healthy, I'm absolutely fine. Mentally, it's really tiring. It's absolutely draining, especially the first, I want to say our first year of marriage was exhausting. It was all I thought about. Whereas now, like, sometimes I get upset and sometimes I'm like, why hasn't it happened for us yet? But I think knowing it can get better, I'm doing all right. Another question, do you still have it? Yes. I'm still going through it. We're still working through some stuff. I can't wait till the day when I come on camera and I'm like, guys, I can do it, it's fine. That's still a little while off for us at the minute. But yeah, we're working through it. And then somebody asked, which is kind of like the last question I have, are there other similar or related conditions? Could it easily be confused with other things? I thought at one point maybe I have PCOS, because that's like pain with sex, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, I was checked over by one person in one physical examination and then have proceeded to have therapy for that. People are human, they can get things wrong. At the minute, like, the anxiety thing massively worked for me. So glad I did that. Me and Noah have talked about, if the physical side isn't working for me and I have been putting the effort in, then I will go back and get a second opinion. I've had tests for other reasons alongside, and they've kind of checked my reproductive organs and stuff like that, and all of that seems peachy, which is amazing. So kind of PCOS and endo, I don't think I've got that. So it all kind of seems like everything physically is okay with me. It's just a muscle thing. So I'm not dying, I'm okay, and it can get better. Potentially there's something else, but as far as I know and my understanding, this is what I have, and this is what we are working towards. So yeah, I'm sure this has been a super rambly video, and when I come to edit it, I'm probably gonna hate myself. But I really hope that this has been informative, useful. If you've got friends who are going through this and you don't know how to talk to them, I hope this video has been helpful, maybe just opening your eyes to some of the difficulties that it brings, even if we're not talking about intercourse, and just some of the mental stuff that goes on behind the scenes. You literally never know what people are going through, so let's always remember to be kind. But yeah, this was kind of my story, my journey, and I hope it's been useful. If you ever want kind of any questions answered. I'm a super open book. You can find my Instagram down in the description. I'm very open and honest, and we talk about things over there. If you would like support or help in any way at all with this kind of thing, I'm going to leave some links to some of the stuff I read down below. But yeah, please send me a message if I can be of any help. If any of this has kind of come up today and you're worried it's you, like I said at the start, I'm not a medical professional. The only thing I can suggest is go and see a GP, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction. But yeah, that's my story. That's the kind of journey that we're on at the minute. And I can't wait for the day when I say that we have overcome it. But until then, I hope that you know that you're not alone if you're going through this, and yeah, things do get better. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.